Just give me 1 second once I get my. Okay, can you all see the screen now?
Yes, Mataji.
Thank you. Okay, so we are of course continuing with chapter 2. It's a big chapter, contents of the Gita summarized. And today we are going to be doing verse number 7. Very, very important verse. Although the purport is really small, but there is a lot of very important message that we have to take from this verse. So let's just recite the verse now. So Bhagavad Gita, verse 2.67. Indriyanam hi charatam yanmano anuvidyate tad asya harati pragnam vayurnavam evam bhashi. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. As a strong wind sweeps away a boat on the water, even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses can carry away a man's intelligence. I'll read the purport because it's really small. Unless all of the senses are engaged in the service of the Lord, even one of them engaged in sense gratification can deviate the devotee from the path of transcendental advancement. As mentioned in the life of Maharaj Ambarish, all of the senses must be engaged in Krishna consciousness, for that is the correct technique for controlling the mind. We'll just say our prayers before we continue. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatirubhascha Kripa Sindhubheva Patitanam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Dinamine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. Okay, so let's see what we can take from this verse. First of all, the analogy that is being used over here is like how a boat on a water can be swept away by the winds. The same way, our mind can be swept away by one of the senses. So, as we've all heard many times, this material world is compared to an ocean. It is an ocean of Maya, of the Lord's illusory energy. It is an ocean of birth and death, where all the living entities are being tossed about in the waves. And these waves can easily carry away anybody, even if it is a person who is trying very hard to control his mind and senses. And in the past couple of days, we have heard a few stories of great personalities from the Bhagavatam, like Saubari Muni, Vishwamitra. They were trying to control their senses, but one incident, it overcame and they were not able to control the senses. I don't want to repeat the stories because these stories were just spoken by some of our speakers. I think Mukundari Prabhu did speak about these personalities. So we won't go again repeating the stories, but it just shows that even great personalities, who are trying so much to control the senses. And what it is teaching us is, whether you're underwater, or whether you've gone away to the forest, or wherever you may be, controlling the senses is not easy. It is not easy, whether you're in the water, forest, or you're at home as a grihastha. The only way one can control the senses is if the Lord himself is helping us. So a person who's drowning in these ocean of the material world can only be saved by the Lord himself if we surrender to the Lord. And Prabhupada says that if we surrender to the Lord, then this whole big ocean becomes like that much water which is found in a calf's hoof print, and one can then easily just cross over. So we'll further look at this particular verse and look at how our senses get distracted. So it says in the purport, Prabhupada says, even one of these senses engaged in sense gratification can deviate the devotee from the path of devotion, transcendental path, spiritual path. Now, as we all know, we have five senses. We take in all this stimulus from these five senses: the nose, eyes, ears, touch, taste. And then it goes to our brain, the mind analyzes, and then the mind decides whether, I want this, I like this, I don't want this. And then, of course, over the mind, we have the intelligence, wherein the intelligence can then discriminate what is right and what is wrong for us. But first, let us look at how these senses, even one of these senses, can cause us to completely get distracted. We'll take examples here. So all of us have heard and have seen, these moth. Moth is really attracted to light, whether it is a fire, a bulb, or any kind of light. And you will see how then they just fly towards this source of light. So this is the sense of sight. So when the moth sees this, does not realize that it is flying towards its own depth, and it'll just fly towards us. So here it is showing us how just one sense, and you are kind of doomed. You are running towards your own death, but you don't realize it. Same way again, we can see here the sense of taste. Now, we all know that, especially in this country, a lot of people have this hobby of fishing. They take their fishing rods, fishing hooks, will put a worm on the hook. And that worm is attracting so many fishes. Now, it is not like the fish does not have food in the water. Of course, it has got so much food, it survives any which ways. But as soon as the fish will see this worm, the sense of taste is so strong that they cannot control the tongue. And because you cannot control the tongue, then they're easily caught in the hook of the fisherman, and then they die. So this is the sense of taste. For us also the same way, if we are not able to control our sense of taste or our tongue, it will lead to destruction. And we all know this, that is why the first thing that when we start a spiritual journey, we speak about, controlling the tongue, that we don't speak bad against people, especially against Vaishnavas, and we don't eat things which are not meant to be eaten. So we have to control that. We have to control this sense of taste. Then here we see this example of the elephant. How elephants are captured. So what is done is, in the forest, in the jungles, the hunter will dig a big hole, cover it with grass, and beyond that hole, then there is a she elephant. So they make a she elephant stand there, a female elephant stand there. When the male elephant sees the female elephant, the sense of touch is agitated so much, the elephant wants to enjoy with the female elephant, that it just runs towards it. So again, here there is no discrimination. There is no sense of, is this right? What I'm doing is, it's just that your senses completely taken over. And then when he's running towards the female elephant, obviously then he falls in that pit which has been created by the hunter, and then he's captured. And then we have the sense of smell. I don't know how many of you have heard this story about the musk deer. So the musk deer, it what it does is, it from its body it secretes a very powerful, intoxicating, fragrant chemical. The smell is absolutely amazing. It is so great that in fact very, very expensive perfumes are made out of this musk. Now this deer does not realize that the smell is coming from its own body, and it is trying to find the source of smell. So it is constantly running here and there thinking, finally I have located the smell, and I've located the smell, and it keeps just, sorry, there's some sound coming. It keeps just running here and there. And eventually it is so exhausted that because of sheer exhaustion, it loses its life. And then finally we have the example of the deer and the sense of hearing. Uh, Deers are captivated by musical sounds, especially the sound of flute. So the hunters use this in order to capture the deer. So they play these very beautiful melodious music, flute music, and other musical sounds. And the deer is so captivated, as you can see here, that it is just sitting there completely absorbed in listening to the music that is being played by this hunter here. And then he is easily captured. So why we have taken these examples is that just one sense, if you are not able to control even one of your senses, then it says that it'll take you away from the path of transcendence or the spiritual path. Now, I know it sounds very, very like pessimistic, but there is no need to feel any despair, because the opposite is also true. And what do I mean by saying that? The opposite is also true. We have seen examples of how these senses can lead to doom and destruction. However, even if we can use one of our senses, which is completely engaged on the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, then that can lead to our deliverance from all kinds of miseries. And from our Shastras, from our scriptures, we have the example of Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj was just given 7 days to live. And what did he do in those 7 days? All that he did was he listened to the glories of the Lord, the Srimad Bhagavatam from Sri Sukadev Goswami. He just listened and he asked questions. He focused only on those 7 days, he focused only on paying attention to the glories of the Lord, listening to the kathas of the Lord. That is all that he did. And just by this, just by hearing, he was able to deliver himself. Then, of course, in the purport, Prabhupada is talking about Ambarish Maharaj. Again, I don't want to go into the detail of Ambarish Maharaj, because very recently, the whole pastime of Ambarish Maharaj has been discussed. So I'm sure most of you know the story, but very briefly, we'll just talk about how Ambarish Maharaj was able to just, involve and attach all of his senses in the service of the Lord. Whether it was a sense of touch, smell, hearing, seeing, everything was just used in the service of the Lord. So completely absorbed in the service of the Lord. But our acharyas teach us and our shastras tell us that even if you are able to engage one sense 100% in the service of the Lord, then that can lead to our deliverance. Previously, just last week in the verse 2.60, Krishna has said these words, Haranti Prashabham Manaha. So Haranti Prashabham Manaha means that even one of the senses can completely carry away the intelligence of the person. And actually, 2.60 and 67 are very similar. They're giving the same message. Here also, it is said, it says, Tad asya harati pragyam indriya nam hi charatam. That means, so our senses are constantly roaming. You know, if you see, your eyes is looking at so many things. It wants to see beautiful things. Your ear wants to hear nice sounds. Your tongue wants to taste nice food. You want to touch nice things. So always the senses are roaming, you know. And while roaming, you encounter things which you want to use for your own sense gratification. So that means your intelligence is being stolen. Your intelligence is being stolen away by these senses. So these senses are actually thieves. They are stealing away your intelligence. Sorry. So they are like thieves who are stealing away our intelligence. One, I just want to share one very beautiful prayer by one of the very, very famous devotees uh, of, of the past. This is King Kulashekar of the Alvars. King Kulashekar was a wonderful devotee of the Lord. He was a king, but he was more absorbed in his service to the Lord. And he was a devotee of King Ranganath. I'm sure recently we spoke about King Ranganath. Ranganath is the deity who is in the lying down position and very, very beautiful deity in the south of India. And King Kulashekar was a devotee of Lord Ranganath. And he has written these beautiful verses, which is called Mukundamala Sotra. These are beautiful prayers to the Lord. And in one of the verses, he says this. He says, O Lord, the powerful thieves of my senses have blinded me by stealing my most precious possession, my discrimination. And they have thrown me deep into the pitch dark well of delusion. Please, O Lord of Lords, extend your hand and save this wretched soul. So he's talking about his most precious possession is his discrimination. So important to understand that, you know, we think that our material possessions like our wealth, our family, our fame, you know, all of that is precious. But that is actually nothing. If you lose your wealth, what do you lose? If you lose, you know, your beauty, what do you lose? But if you lose your discrimination to see what is right or and what is wrong, that is the time that you lose everything. So here King Kulashekar is praying to the Lord that the thieves of my senses have blinded me and they have stolen my most precious possession. And this is a prayer of complete surrender where he says that I am in this deep dark well of delusion, and you please extend your hand and save this wretched soul. Because we have to understand that on our own it is very, very difficult. Like in the previous slide we saw that on our own it is very difficult to come out of this ocean of material world. It is only with the mercy of the Lord and the mercy of his devotees that we can cross this ocean of illusion. So here King Kulashekar is saying the same prayers. But, you know, our senses are thieves. That is true. But Krishna is the topmost of the thieves. There is no bigger thief than Krishna himself. We have to surrender to one thief or the other. Either we surrender to our senses or we surrender to Krishna, because there is no bigger thief than Krishna. And this is very nicely spoken again in a beautiful prayer by a great Vaishnav called Bilva Mangal Thakur. And I will just take a couple of minutes to recite these verses because they are just so beautiful. Some of you must have heard these verses. This is from the prayers called Chaurashtakam. I'll just recite the verses and we'll read the English translation. Praje prasiddham navanita chauram gopan gananam chadukula chauram aneka janmarjita papa chauram chauragraganyam purusham namami. Shri Radhikaya Hridayasya Chauram Navam Buddha Shamala Kanti Chauram Padashritanam Cha Samasta Chauram Chauragraganyam Purusham Namami. So the translation is, I offer my respectful obeisances to that foremost of thieves, who is famous in Vraja as the butter thief, and who steals the gopis' clothes, and who, for those who take shelter of him, steals the sins which have accrued over many lifetimes. I offer my respectful obeisances to the foremost of thieves, who steals Srimati Radhika's heart, who steals the dark luster of a fresh rain cloud, and who steals all the sins and sufferings of those who take shelter of his feet. So we have hope here. Yes, our senses are very strong. Our senses are thieves, but the greatest thief is Krishna. And it says so clearly here that one who takes shelter of him, one who surrenders to him, Krishna steals away all the sins that we have from so many, many lifetimes. So all that we have to do. So we've been given the, yes, we have been given the problem, but we've also been given the solution. And what is the solution? That we take shelter of Krishna, right? So now the question is that how do we conquer our senses? Yes, we take shelter of Krishna, that is true, and we always pray to Krishna. But then there is something that we practically and actively have to do. Because if the intelligence cannot control the mind, then the mind will start creating all kinds of doubts, will start questioning, will start, being not having faith in the things that one should have faith in. So, the best way to conquer our senses is, and it says here that we must have fear of material entanglements, because that fear will actually give us the impetus to avoid material sense gratification. And how can we do that? Because the tricky mind, is always trying to take us away from what we should be doing. But it can be only conquered by the Krishna conscious intelligence. And what does it say? Every day, we must hear Srimad Bhagavatam. We must hear the Bhagavad Gita. We must hear from the devotees of the Lord regularly, because this keeps our intelligence scientifically fixed on the reality of how Krishna consciousness works. Our acharyas explain to us how hearing the glories of the Lord, how chanting his holy name is like food to give strength to our spiritual intelligence. We have to understand that without nourishment, without getting the food, we will not have the strength. Trying to become a devotee of Krishna is like a war that we have started against Maya. Maya is very, very strong. And Maya is not just what we see outside with our senses. Maya is within our mind, and that is most difficult to capture. That is most difficult to, overtake. But Maya is strong. But if we are able to nourish our intelligence, then we can become spiritually strong and we can fight against this Maya. And how do we nourish our intelligence? The only way we can nourish our intelligence is by listening to the glories of the Lord, by chanting his holy name, by regularly visiting the temple, praying to the Lord, associating with the devotees. So, like we say that the basic of Krishna consciousness, and a lot of our speakers have said the basic of Krishna consciousness is just, it's so simple, it's as simple as A, B, C, D. And what is the A, B, C, D? It's association with devotees. B is the books. So reading Srila Prabhupada's books, because Srila Prabhupada has given us everything in his books. All our problems, all our questions have got solutions in Srila Prabhupada's books. Then we have the C, which is the chanting. In Kali Yuga, there is no greater sacrifice than the chanting of the holy name. That is the biggest austerity That is the biggest yagya that one can perform. And finally, it is D, which is the diet. Diet is what is the food that we intake. Because that, I'm sure, even scientifically, everybody agrees that we are what we eat. So it is so important that we try as far as possible, as much as possible, to eat the food that is in the mode of goodness. And even above that, to try and eat prasad, where we can offer the food and then have Krishna prasad, because Krishna prasad has the power to purify us. That is the first thing, you know. That is why the tongue, they say, is so important. The tongue to be used for chanting and to have Krishna prasad. So it says that most important things to do in your journey to become Krishna conscious is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. Shravanam is chanting the holy name. Kirtanam again is, Shravanam is chanting, hearing. Kirtanam is where you can chant together in a group when you're at the temple, perform Kirtan. Vishnu Smaranam, always, always think of Krishna. Always have Krishna in the center of your life. And if you think about it practically, these things are not that difficult to do. They're very, very easy if one gets into the habit of it. So we've seen that, yes, the senses are very difficult to control. And even if one of our senses it leads us on a different path, then we might deviate from the path of spiritual realization. However, it at the same time, the senses also can protect us and can actually, help us to completely surrender to the Lord. So I think this is the verse. This is the teaching of this particular verse today. I hope this has made sense and it has helped all of you. If there are any questions or comments or realizations that you wish to share, then please unmute yourselves. Before you do that, just an announcement so that I don't forget. We won't have any classes on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday because it is the Janmashtami festival. 3 days at the manor. I hope you all have managed to book tickets so that you can come for the festival. We will also have our Chad and Bhagavatam stalls on all the 3 days. And it'll be great if you could, go and meet the devotees. One of us will always be there at the stalls on all 3 days. So it'll be very nice if you could come and meet all of us. It's nice to meet all of you one-to-one. But yeah, that was the announcement. If you have any comments or questions, please unmute yourselves. No questions?
No questions.
Yes, Smita Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. You just mentioned that it's easy to do the smaranam once you get into habit of it.
Yeah.
So I've sort of been trying. So how is it just when in the beginning now I find it difficult, like my mind is always somewhere else, and then I said no, chant Mahamantra. So then I start counting, but then again after a few minutes it's gone. You are back into your thinking mode. God knows what you are thinking, everything else except Krishna. So yes. Is that normal? Is that what happens in the beginning and then it will come?
So Smita Mataji, I have heard from from people who've been practicing Krishna consciousness for years and years and years also. And they also say that sometimes it does happen. We have to realize that we are in the material world and under the influence of the modes of material nature. That is one thing. Second thing, we have got conditioning of so many lifetimes. So, Prabhupada says, yes, it takes 1 second to become a pure devotee, and it might take so many more years or lifetimes also. So the mind is like that. Sometimes the example is given, the mind is like a monkey. Not just a monkey, it is like a monkey which has been bitten by the scorpion and is drunk. And so all those things, the mind is like that. The mind is going to jump from here to there and here to there. But you have to constantly, as soon as you're aware that the mind is going somewhere, bring it back. Bring it back, always. I have, from my personal experience, I have realized and noticed that, when I'm at the temple, at the manor, and I'm chanting in a group of devotees, it always helps me, because then I can hear the other people chanting also. But I'll give you one analogy. So I can't remember who. Yes, it was Sutapa Prabhu, I think, who gave this example once when we had asked a question, and he said, when the flight takes off, let's say the flight is going from Heathrow to Bombay, you know when you see it on a map, you might have a direct line saying, okay, this is the way the flight is going to go. There may be cases where, because of whatever reasons, airspace or weather or whatever, the flight actually kind of, rather than going straight, it has deviated. It has deviated, but it knows it has to go to Bombay, so it will come back on its path and it will finally reach Bombay. Our mind is like that. It will constantly deviate, but the intelligence has to bring it back, because our goal is Krishna. So even if the flight is going wherever, finally it'll land in Bombay. So our mind, let it go wherever it wants to, because I am not the mind. I am the soul. So when the mind does these things, you tell the mind, okay, you want to do this, you can go. Go wherever you want to. I am not coming with you. And bring your soul back to chanting. So that helps. It's difficult. I'm not saying it's the easiest of thing. All of us go through. I'm sure all of us, the mind keeps going here. It's always like, okay, I have to do this. I want to do this. It's always there. And that is why they say, to enhance and to help your chanting, try and chant in the morning when the mind is more quieter. Try and chant a little loudly so that you can hear. Try and chant in the association of devotees, so that, then people are, when there are people around you, it's easy to chant. And we have experienced this in the lockdown. We've had a lot of group chanting where we get together on Zoom and we are chanting. And it does help, because, you can hear the other people chanting, not very loud, but just, slightly, and it helps. So you have to try and see what helps you, because everybody is different. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Any other? So there is a question on the group. And it says, are they good and bad sense gratification? For example, enjoying bhajans is a good sense gratification, and then describe that the rest are bad. Santosh Mataji, the main thing is enjoying itself is not the right term, because we are not the enjoyers. The enjoyer is Krishna. So anything that you're doing for the pleasure of Krishna is great. Anything that you're doing for your own pleasure is not great. Now, to reach that stage is not easy. And we are not all at that stage, like I speak for myself. I'm not at that stage where I can say that everything that I do in my life is only for the pleasure of Krishna. No, it is not. But actually, that is the stage where a devotee wants to get to. That is the goal, where the devotee does not think of what he likes. The devotee only thinks of how I can please Krishna, and is willing to do anything just to please Krishna. I hope that answers your question.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you very much. That's a very nice answer. So in that case, could we convert our own pleasure into the pleasure of Krishna, then converting?
Yes, that is what Krishna consciousness is all about. That you dovetail all your consciousness towards Krishna. So let's say that, for example, I love to cook. Let's say I really love to cook. So then let me dovetail this talent of mine, or this love and passion of mine, in such a way that I cook, but I cook for Krishna, keeping Krishna in mind. That let me cook this dish for Krishna. Let me do this. Let me offer this to Krishna. And then suddenly your love, your passion, your talent becomes Krishnaized. So everything is for Krishna then.
I see. So the process would be to say beforehand, Krishna, this enjoyment is for you.
Correct. This is for you. I'm not enjoying. This is for you.
Okay.
So whatever I am preparing is for you. Like, I'll give you a personal example. And it is the devotee's mercy that this happened with me. And when I look back, I can see how it helped. So I love to sing. I love to sing. And one of the devotees, this was in the beginning of my Krishna conscious journey, and she came to know, she heard when we were talking that I love to sing. And so she put me in the group where the devotees used to do Sunday Kirtan, and she said to me, why don't you join them? So what happened was, this talent of mine, where I used to love to sing, let's say, old Hindi songs and whatever, I Krishnized it by then only singing the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra every Sunday. And within a short period of time, I had completely lost interest in listening to songs. I just didn't need to. I just don't want to anymore. So you see how, your passion can be dovetailed.
Very
that
nice. Thank you very much. I like the word Krishnaized. It's
I've
a
taken
lovely word.
I've stolen it from people. You always hear all these things. I steal all these things from people.
Very
I'm also a thief.
Thank you very much, Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Any other questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes.
We're talking about senses and all that in the sloka, and you quoted about great Vaishnavas who serve all the time. But sometimes, like say, I don't know, something's happened in our life, and then something happens very big or magical, and then for example, I forgot to do a service I always do to Jagannath Ji in the evening yesterday.
Right.
I was doing a lot of rounds, I was doing a lot of chanting, I was doing other things, but I forgot to do that, which I had done for maybe 10 years or so.
Wow.
And sometimes this is happening. So, and then I don't know, I mean, how to manage it, Mataji, like if you're forgetting simply, let's say it's old age, let's say it is whatever, something happened, but we are not able to do some things that we always do.
Surya Prabhuji, one thing, again, I will speak from my own personal example. I am not an authority on these things, but I will speak from my personal example of what I have been going through also for the past, like some days and whatever. So some days my sadhana is very good, and, I am able to wake up early in the morning, do all my rounds, listen to class. Like if you see my, I'm the kind of person who's a bit, has to write down everything, what I will do at what time and whatever. And it was going great. And then there are some days that I'm just not able to do the things that I want to do. I have prayed, I've done everything, I'm crying for the mercy. You have to then realize, is there some teaching out of it? For me, the teaching out of this was, am I feeling, I'm feeling that, oh, wow, I am so great. I am so determined that no matter what, I wake up at 4 in the morning every day and I chant my rounds. Am I getting a sense of two things? One is pride, and second, that I am doing this. And that is why Krishna is teaching me a lesson. Hang on a minute, you are nothing. You are nobody. You can't do anything if I don't allow you to. So sometimes, I think we have to, like His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj says, that anything that happens in your life, try to learn a lesson and try to see what Krishna is trying to teach you. Maybe Krishna is trying to teach you something. That is one way of looking at it. Second thing is, we have to understand that we are all human beings. Human being is prone to make mistakes. That's just how it is. We are prone to make mistakes. So if we make any mistakes, we can always just ask for forgiveness and go back to doing what we were doing again. So you can use the same analogy of the flight here again, where the flight has gone off path for some time, but it knows that it has to come back on path. So if I have made a mistake, I beg for forgiveness. I don't know why this mistake has happened, for whatever reason. I try not to do that again, but don't beat yourself up about it, because that's not what Krishna wants. I hope this kind of helps.
Yeah, very helpful. Thank you, Mataji. That not beat you, like we don't know why it happened. We ask forgiveness and we proceed. That's very
Correct.
helpful. Thank you.
Correct. Rather than, think about why it has happened, it's happened, it's gone. We just have to constantly move forward and constantly see how I can improve my sadhana every single day. Every single day is a struggle. Every single day is a fight against Maya. Like we said, like we discussed, every single moment is a fight. And the moment you stop feeding your intelligence, your spiritual intelligence, Maya can take over. So we can only just beg for forgiveness, and we can hope that we can continue with our sadhana the way we were. That's it.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
It is. I felt you spoke what I have in my heart. You know what I feel, and exactly with the. If I'm doing everything right, it is not good at all. Then I think, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. You know, where is the mercy coming? You know, when you are useless, then you beg for mercy.
Mm.
So it is good to feel useless
Yeah.
than seeing that, oh, I did that, I did, oh, I'm good. You know, it's always good to feel. I don't know. For me, I feel it is very good to feel useless. So that, in the sense, not to get disheartened.
Yeah.
You know, not to get disheartened, but to know, Lord, nothing happens without His
Correct.
sanction.
Correct. That's the way to. That's the way. Like you said, yes, not to feel disheartened, but realizing that He is the controller at the end of the day, and I am nothing and nobody without His mercy and without the devotee's mercy.
Yeah. So I have to keep on begging. I have to do my part.
Correct.
So thank you for saying that. You know, I really felt, you know, you just spoke what I have in my heart. Thank you.
Thank you.
Krishna. Thank you so much.
Okay, there are some comments on the chat. So Surabhi Mataji says, when early morning and attending chat, I feel more inclined, but rest of the day, I am much more average. Surabhi Mataji, you know, you're not different from any of us. We all go through these things. As it is, if you see, you know, the day how it is in the morning, you feel in the mode of goodness. During the day, it is the mode of passion. Towards the evening and night, it is the mode of ignorance. That's how the material modes act on us. So it is very normal and natural to feel like that. But like I said, again, keeping focused is important. It doesn't matter. You may have a good day, you may have a bad day. Just constantly remember one thing: chant. Chanting is just so important. It doesn't matter what is happening in your life. You may be going through the worst things in your life. Just keep chanting. That will help you, honestly. It has helped me.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Pranam, thank you.
Okay, there's another question from Jay. Should we all stop watching TV, stop listening to music to ensure our senses are engaged only on Krishna? One cannot do this artificially, Jay. So unless one develops the higher taste. So, you know, when we talk about, what was that? Vairagya, false renunciation, you know, Markat Vairagya and Yukta Vairagya. So one cannot falsely renounce everything till one is ready for that, until one is at a stage for doing that. So I will not advise anybody that right now, from today, stop watching TV, stop listening to music. No, I tell you from my own practical experience, it just happens over a period of time. You are just so absorbed in doing other things that you just don't have the time for all these things. And then you realize that, you know what, I'm not really missing anything, to be honest. You know, now that does not mean that sometimes and once in a while people don't do it, because you have to remember that, especially for us grihastas, we have family, we've got children. The children will want to do things. Like my children sometimes say, we have to go and watch this movie. All right, we have to, because otherwise they feel that, again, speaking from my practical example, when we started our Krishna conscious journey, um, I guess it happens with everybody. When you're new, you are a bit over enthusiastic. And there were times when every evening we were out of the house attending Sangha or going to the temple for service. The children were not very old, they were young. And my daughter started to feel that she's losing her parents to the temple. And if that happens, then, you know, she might develop this attitude that Krishna consciousness has stolen my parents, and she might actually go against it. So that's not the right thing to do. So you have to have a balance where, you can look after what their needs are. As a grihastha, we are, family people, we've got husbands, wives, children, parents, whatever. But you will realize that once your consciousness starts changing, you will come to a stage where you yourself will lose interest. One still needs a bit of, time to relax, which is fine. And everybody has their own way. Somebody might read it like reading the news, or somebody might want to watch some documentary. And, there's nothing against it. It's not like, you have to renounce everything. It comes automatically. So there's no false renunciation. It'll happen on its own eventually. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you for the helpful answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Jai.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
I was thinking that I used to love reading books, any books, crime books, any novels, anything. I used to read lots and lots and lots. I used to even look for recommendations of books to read. And then once I started to become Krishna conscious, just without noticing,
yeah,
I just lost the taste. And now if I read, it's always to do with Krishna consciousness. It wasn't a deliberate, no, I mustn't read that book.
Yeah.
It's just that I just don't want to anymore. It doesn't occur to me if I've got some spare time to read, or I'm traveling on the train. It's always a Back to Godhead magazine, or one of Prabhupada's books, or one of the other Acharya's books or something. And it's only when you're talking now that it occurred to me that, that's happened.
It's true, Jai Shri Mataji. I used to be a voracious reader. I was such a person that if I started a book, I would like to finish it that night. And I would sometimes stay up night to finish a book, And like you, I would read all kinds of books. And I was really a voracious reader. But I realized myself that I've just stopped reading all these books. I don't read anymore. In fact, my daughter says, because both my kids are also voracious readers, and they will say, oh, this book is nice, that book is nice. But they say, oh, but Mama doesn't read anymore. And I don't. And it's not like you said, it didn't occur like a conscious decision, I'm going to stop reading. No, it just happened over a period of time. I just lost the interest.
Yes, also it's like, with crime books and things. And now I don't want those pictures in my mind.
Yeah.
You just don't want to think about those things. That's why a lot of things on the television I don't watch, because I just don't want to see. Sometimes those images come in your mind and you just don't want them anymore.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Hema Mataji says, she can also relate to us both. Thank you, Hema Mataji. I'm sure a lot of people on this call would agree that it just happens. So like I said, one doesn't have to do it. It just, it'll just happen automatically, subconsciously. Yeah. Thank you, Jai Shri Mataji, for sharing this. Any other questions or comments? It is 10 to 9. So if anybody wants to leave, you can leave. If there are no more comments, then we can stop. Is there any other comments? Okay. So we'll just end the class. Thank you very much. Vanchakalpatrubhascha kripa sindhu
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Very nice class.
Krishna Mataji.